Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I've got another one of those lots of headlines here, and I'm not going to do a lot of explanation again because it's late and it's been a long day of listening to the banter back and forth and all of everything that happened, and I'm extremely disappointed that they didn't have the vote tonight. Just get it over with. So then we get to listen to Monday and Tuesday of them sitting there jawing about why they're voting one way or the other. It's going to be miserable. Oh, I'm not looking forward to it. But anyway, and then I guess Wednesday they're supposed to vote, which the whole, State of the Union address is kind of up in the air. They're not totally sure what's going on. As of now, I don't think it's been changed, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I tend to think what'll happen is that they'll release the senators early on Tuesday, and so they can go ahead and have, a bit of a break and everything. And then they'll be able to come back for the State of the Union. And then they'll finish up on Wednesday, having the, rest of the time for them all to sit there and tell their reasons. Because each of them is supposed to get like 10 minutes to talk about why they're voting the way they want. So I think I would have reduced it to 5 minutes. But 10 minutes, I think, comes out to about 16 hours if you take 100 people. So that's why I don't know that they all will, but I bet most of them will. One way or the other, it's going to be exciting. Anyway, Jennifer Rubin's back. And if you don't know who she is, she considers herself a conservative opinion writer at the Washington Post and MSNBC contributor. And then she quotes Adam Schiff, "If right doesn't matter, we are lost." And she's just been loving Adam Schiff. She is like an Adam Schiff worshiper. Yeah, even though she considers herself conservative. So she wrote a couple of them. There was another post above this part of the thread. But she says, law schools and bar associations have fallen down to allow lawyers to practice with such blatant disregard for facts and misrepresentation of law. There must be professional consequences for their conduct. Well, I agree. If she was talking about like Schiff and the House managers, but she's not. She's saying that about Trump's people, which is just totally crazy. I mean, she really has gone off the deep end. I don't know why she calls herself conservative. So Carpe Donktum, of course, has to put in his 2 cents. And he says, "Dear Jennifer, please remove any reference in your bio to the following. 1, conservative. 2, writer. 3, contributor. You are not conservative. You are barely literate. And you contribute nothing to anything. Sincerely, everyone who doesn't have 1,000 cats." So, yeah. Your responses are adorable. Keep throwing those cats at me. So I just think that, that was a good response to her. It just frustrates me. Hon, if you want to call yourself a conservative, then have conservative values. Don't be calling yourself that unless you actually are. So anyway, then I wanted to show you this tweet. Dan Scavino, he posts this, and it's just, I know it's kind of big and you can't see the whole thing, but it's basically just tick-tock, tick-tock. Very interesting. If you follow the 17th letter of the alphabet, you'll know that there have been several posts that have to do with TikTok. And also, that most of those posts also included Adam Schiff's name. So I think there's a connection, and I think we're getting close to seeing what it is. So speaking of Adam Schiff, yeah, this was from September 29th, and this is the Gateway Pundit here. And Adam Schiff linked to prominent Ukrainian arms dealer. Very interesting. You can read through this and see, the connections they make. But yeah, there does seem to be some connection there, and you gotta wonder. So, misuse of the law created impeachment farce. And this is an opinion piece that's on the Epoch Times. He wrote it very well. It's really easy to read. He kind of writes it like you talk. And he basically says, you know what? They misused the law and made it out to be something that it wasn't supposed to be. That's not what it was intended to do. So I agree with him on that. I thought it was a good little opinion piece. And then this is surprising. Guess what? U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, retires from the State Department after she was removed from her post in 2019 and was a key witness in Trump's impeachment trial. You gotta wonder if she stayed in just long enough to find out if, she was going to be recalled to have to testify more. I don't know. Does it have a date on? I know the date on this, but let me see if the date on the article. Yep, January 31st. Oh, look at this. 1735. That would be 5:35 in the afternoon Eastern time. Isn't that about when we found out the vote that they weren't going to have witnesses? Wasn't it about then? So she stayed in until it was time to, she found out that she wasn't going to be able to testify in front of Congress, in front of the Senate. So, yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad she's gone. But I think if they stay in, they've got a little extra protection there if they're still part of the government. So I think that's probably what happened. Then we have this, and this is a post from the conservative treehouse. And he's hindsight, folks, hindsight. And compare this situation, this network, to Pelosi's rule changes. For those who don't know, since the House of Representatives is voted in every 2 years, everybody is voted on every 2 years. Whereas, like in the Senate, they run for 6 years. That's their term. And it's overlapping. So there's always 2/3 of the Senate who have experience and 1/3 that's new. Whereas in Congress, in the House, it could theoretically be totally all new. But that rarely happens. Usually people vote in the same person over and over again. But because of that, every time they get a new crop in, every 2 years, they have to write the rules for that particular Congress. So this is the 116th Congress, and that means that they have to write rules that will govern how they're going to handle things. Well, looking back, now that we know what we've been through and everything and all that's gone on in the last, year or so, we can see some of the rule changes that she made for this particular Congress. Yeah, some of them were definitely forethought. They were planning things. They were making sure things were going to work in their favor and that they'd be able to deal with some things. And so, yes, it does have to do with he who shall not be named, but a big part of it, and here's a connection too, that, she was connected to the ICIG and just a lot of stuff right here, some connections. But really, if you go back here was an article that they wrote in January of 2019, a year ago, when they first came out with the rules. Well, here are some of the rules that they put in place that when you look back now, you go, oh, that's why they put that in place. And essentially, when you come down here, they go through all of these and show the different parts, and then they tell about why that is specific, something to point out and look at. Like one of them was they got rid of the rule for banning headwear on the House floor so they could wear their hijabs. Yeah, nice of them. And so let me go down. I know. See, there's lots of them that you can look at, but this is what I thought was really interesting. Normally, traditionally, House counsel represents the interests of the entire legislative branch on any issue that might surface. However, Pelosi is setting up a legal activist agency within the House counsel, that's the lawyers, for the House, that will specifically, quote, advocate for Democrat priorities against the position of the U.S. Department of Justice and use taxpayer funds to finance the scheme. So when you go through this, she was creating her own mini DOJ inside the legislative branch. When I'm looking at it now and I see what's been going on, and I've been telling you this, that what we saw happening with this whole impeachment thing is a battle between the executive branch and the legislative branch. The legislative branch, specifically the House, has been trying to usurp the power of the executive branch. And that's why Trump keeps saying that no other president should have to go through this. And he's saying that he's doing this for future presidents, because this is to save the presidency from being rolled into Congress. And during the arguments, I can't remember who it was, but one of Trump's lawyers said that this is what is really happening, and that if they go through with this, and if they would impeach Trump and allow all these witnesses, then that would be allowing the House really to run the presidency, because any president they didn't like, they could do exactly the same thing. They could do a bogus impeachment proceeding and then send it up to the Senate and have the Senate ram it through. And that's really scary when you think about it. So this was a little sobering article. Obviously, that was from a year ago when they first implemented it. But when you look back now, hindsight, it's kind of obvious that they were setting things up even then for this coup. So now, in case you don't know, I should have put this one first. ZeroHedge is one of those references that I often go to. They usually do a pretty good job, and they were suspended on Twitter. Well, why? And this is the reason why here, because this guy is definitely not friendly, because he's a BuzzFeed guy. And so, yeah. But he says a pro-Trump blog, that's what they call it, has doxed a Chinese scientist falsely accused of creating the coronavirus. Okay, no, they didn't dox him. All the information was on the website. It'd be like if you went to a university website and found a specific professor and it had like the phone number you could contact him at and an email address. That's it. And so that's essentially what they did. And they said, hey, maybe somebody needs to talk to this guy. Well, here's the deal. They are suspended. They found out that, yes, Facebook said that it's been suspended for violating the Twitter rules. And they say violating our rules against abuse and harassment. And so it's news to us that this website has ever engaged in the targeted harassment of someone. And so what they assume happened is that this guy right here saw what they did and said, oh, look, at the end of the article that included the scientist's name, photo, email, and a phone number. But again, all of that came from the website that the guy is on. You go to the main Senate page, you go to the main House page. Every one of those senators and representatives has contact information. And it has a picture of them. And, so it's just so crazy. But that's basically what happened with ZeroHedge. I'm going to leave the link down below. Someone asked me about the coronavirus. Well, I've got to tell you, I have a hard time following too many things all at once. And I've not done very much digging on it. I've heard a lot of rumors about a lot of things. People having differing opinions and saying it's not as many as it says, that we're hearing. And then there's the other side that says it's a whole lot more than we're hearing. And, but I think this particular article goes through and kind of lays out a very distinct possibility that this particular guy that they were talking about really might have had a connection to it. And he might be a place to start. And he is based in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And so they had a help wanted notice that was posted on November 18th of 2019. And this is the kind of stuff they wanted. They quote, bats to research the molecular mechanism that allows Ebola and SARS-associated coronaviruses to lie dormant for a long time without causing diseases in bats. Evidently, it's something bats do, that they can carry the disease and not really have the disease. But yeah, here are the qualifications that they're looking for. And, there was the posting. That was the actual one in Chinese. And down here, Google translated it, and you can look at that. And so I think they make a case that could very well possibly be the person. So they kind of leave it as a question, but they're giving information out. And I think they're pretty well documented here that they talk about this guy. He's a leader of the bat virus infection and immunization group. And here's other things about him. It just seems really kind of interesting. In 2009, he took the lead in starting the research on the immune mechanism of bat long-term carrying and transmitting virus in the world. So just here's some of the recent papers that he's published, and you can see some of them kind of sound like maybe that's connected. Yeah. And so anyway, down here at the bottom, way down here, sorry, there's a picture of him. But again, the picture came from the Institute's website. So it's nothing new. And then down here, this is basically the summarization that they have. One of China's top virology and immunology experts was and still works at China's top-rated biohazard lab, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which some have affectionately called the real Umbrella Corp. And again, if you click on these, he leaves a lot of links on here that you could go exploring. You could spend probably 3 or 4 hours just reading all the articles and checking out all the links that he gives, because he gives a whole ton of them. Since 2009, Penn has been the leading Chinese scientist researching the immune mechanism of bats carrying and transmitting lethal viruses in the world. His primary field of study is researching how and why bats can be infected with some of the most nightmarish viruses in the world, including Ebola, SARS, and coronavirus, and not get sick. He was genetically engineering various immune pathways, such as the sting pathway in bats, to make the bats more or less susceptible to infection, in the process potentially creating a highly resistant mutant superbug. As part of his studies, Peng also researched mutant coronavirus strains that overcame the natural immunity of some bats. These are superbug coronavirus strains, which are not resistant to any natural immune pathway and now appear to be out in the wild. As of mid-November, his lab was actively hiring inexperienced postdocs to help conduct his research into super coronaviruses and bat infections. Peng's work on virology and bat immunology has received support from the National Yu Qing Fund, the pilot project of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and the major project of the Ministry of Science and Technology. Something tells us, look at this, this is the part that, the BuzzFeed guy got all bent out of shape. Something tells us if anyone wants to find out what really caused the coronavirus pandemic that has affected thousands of people in China and around the globe, they should probably pay Dr. Peng a visit, or at least start with an email. Dr. Peng can be reached at, and again, this was posted on the website. So it's public knowledge. It's all out there for anyone who might want it. So that's what they were all upset about. But anyway, I'll leave the links to these down below so you can go through and you can check them out yourself. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I hope there's something in there that helps you understand the world a little bit better as we're living in it right now. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.